Good morning, dear students. Today we are going to study about the pectoral region. It's a topic in the upper limb. So pectoral region, it is a region in the anterior part of the chest or the thorax. It has various important structures like we see here. The skin is reflected. So once the skin of the pectoral region is reflected, you see the superficial fascia, which is made up of fibrofatty layer. Okay, so this fibrofatty layer, it encloses mammary gland in females. The deep fascia of the pectoral region is known as the pectoral fascia. It is attached to the clavicle and also the sternum. So deep fascia is attached to the clavicle as well as the sternum, and it covers the pectoralis major muscle. As you can see, this is pectoralis major. So deep fascia, it covers the pectoralis major muscle, and at the floor of the axilla, it is thickened to form axillary fascia. Okay, the floor of the axilla, the pectoral fascia is thickened to form axillary fascia. Then what are the contents in the pectoral region? Number one, we have muscles of the pectoral region, that is pectoralis major, subclavius, pectoralis minor, and the last one is serratus anterior. So we are going to discuss in detail about these muscles, their origin, insertion, nerve supply and action. Okay, then we also have mammary gland or the breast that secrete milk in female, and these are the contents of the pectoral region. We also discuss about the clavipectoral fascia, which is important in the region of the pectoral region. The clavipectoral fascia is important, that we will discuss about it. Okay, so muscles and the clavipectoral fascia, these are the two things which we are going to discuss today. Let us discuss about surface markings of pectoral region. Why I am discussing surface markings? Because in the examination, in the final practical examination, you have 5 marks for surface markings. Okay, so surface markings, they can be felt on the surface of the body. Okay, in this pectoral region. So what are the landmarks we have in the pectoral region? Number one, we find here the clavicle. Okay, this is the clavicle. As you can see here, this is the clavicle. So it is subcutaneous in location. Subcutaneous means it is present just below the skin, or it is just beneath the skin. So it is palpable along its whole length at the junction of the root of the neck and front of the chest. So it is subcutaneous bone, it can be palpable. This is number one landmark, the clavicle. Number two, the suprasternal notch, also known as the jugular notch. So exactly here. So suprasternal notch or the jugular notch, it is palpable notch at the upper border of the manubrium sterni. So this is the manubrium of the sternum. Above this you have suprasternal notch or the jugular notch between the medial ends of the clavicle. So this is the medial end of the clavicle. So between the two medial ends of the clavicle you have suprasternal or the jugular notch. Then we have sternal angle of Lewis, we say. It is felt as a transverse ridge 5 cm below the suprasternal notch. Okay, so it is actually a junction between manubrium and the body of the sternum. Manubrium and body of the sternum. So this sternal angle is an important landmark to identify second rib. So and subsequently it is helpful for counting the ribs. Okay. Then we have infraclavicular fossa. Infraclavicular fossa below the clavicle. So it is a triangular depression at the junction between medial 2/3 and lateral 1/3 of the clavicle. So that is known as infraclavicular fossa. Then next we have the coracoid process of the scapula. Here exactly, this is the landmark for coracoid process of the scapula. The tip of the coracoid process is felt in the infraclavicular fossa. Below the clavicle you have infraclavicular fossa. So that is 2.5 centimeter below the clavicle. This is an important landmark, the coracoid process. Then we have nipple. So it is the most important surface feature of the pectoral region. So the position differs in females. So but if you see in males, it usually lies in 4th intercostal space and medial to the mid-clavicular line. Okay, so this you have to remember, that the nipple, it lies in the 4th intercostal space. Okay, so these are the surface landmarks of the pectoral region. One is clavicle, the other is suprasternal notch or the jugular notch. Number 3, the sternal angle of Lewis between the body and the manubrium of the sternum. Then the infraclavicular fossa below the clavicle. Then the coracoid process of the scapula and the nipple. Let us discuss about the muscles of the pectoral region. Number 1, we have pectoralis major muscle. The pectoralis major, it is a thick triangular muscle. It is broad at sternoclavicular origin. The muscle is broad at sternoclavicular origin and narrow at its insertion. You can make out the difference. So it is narrow at its insertion, but at its origin it is broad. Okay, so this muscle, it forms anterior fold of the axilla, or you can say anterior wall of the axilla. So the upper border of the muscle, it is separated from anterior border of the deltoid by infraclavicular triangle, and the rounded and twisted lower border of the muscle forms anterior fold of the axilla. So the sternoclavicular origin of the muscle is broad, whereas at its insertion the muscle is narrow. Okay, it is separated from the anterior border of the deltoid by infraclavicular triangle. Now let us discuss the origin of the pectoralis major. It has origin from the clavicle, sternum, and also from the ribs. So clavicular head of the pectoralis major, it arises from the medial half of the anterior surface of the clavicle. Medial half of the anterior surface of the clavicle gives origin to the clavicular head. You might have studied this in the clavicle bone, the attachments. Then next, sternocostal head. Sterno means from the sternum, costo means rib. So from the lateral part of the anterior surface of the sternum. So it arises, the sternocostal head arises from lateral part of the anterior surface of the sternum up to the 6th costal cartilage. Up to the 6th costal cartilage. Then 2nd to 6th costal cartilages gives origin to the sternocostal head. Then it also arises from the aponeurosis of external oblique. Aponeurosis of the external oblique. External oblique is a muscle of the anterior abdominal wall. So it also arises from the aponeurosis of the external oblique over the upper attachment of the rectus abdominis muscle. So these are the origins of the pectoralis major. The clavicular head arises from the medial half of the anterior surface of the clavicle, whereas the sternocostal head arises from the lateral part of the anterior surface of the clavicle and from the lateral part of the anterior surface of the sternum up to the 6th costal cartilage, and it also has origins from 2nd to 6th costal cartilage. Then also has origin from the aponeurosis of the external oblique muscle, that you should remember. So these are the origins of the sternocostal head. Insertion. This is the insertion of the pectoralis major. The muscle converges to form a bilaminar tendon. Bilaminar, having two lamina. We say anterior lamina, other is the posterior lamina. So inserted these two laminae, they inserted into the lateral lip of the intertubercular sulcus of the humerus, also known as the bicipital groove. So lateral lip of the bicipital groove of humerus, you have the insertion of the pectoralis major muscle. So pectoralis major, the muscle converges to form bilaminar tendon and inserted into the lateral lip of the intertubercular sulcus or the bicipital groove of the humerus in U-shaped manner. Okay. The anterior lamina is thick, consists of various fibers like the superficial fibers, intermediate and deep fibers. Then the posterior lamina, it is contributed by the rest of the sternocostal fibers and from the external oblique muscle. So these fibers join the posterior lamina in a twisted manner so that the fibers are lowest at the origin, becomes highest at the insertion. So this you have to remember. So this is about the insertion of the pectoralis major. So origin is over, insertion is over. Now the nerve supply. What is the nerve supply? Pectoralis major, it is supplied by medial and lateral pectoral nerves. Medial and lateral pectoral nerves. So the medial pectoral nerve, it reaches the muscle and it pierces the pectoralis major, whereas the lateral pectoral nerve pierces clavipectoral fascia, that we will discuss in further slides. Okay. What is the action of this pectoralis major? When the muscle acts as a whole, it produces medial rotation and adduction of the shoulder joint. Okay, medial rotation and adduction of the shoulder. The clavicular head, this one, it produces flexion of the shoulder joint as in case of pushing. The sternocostal head helps in extension of the flexed humerus. Then this pectoralis major acts as an accessory muscle of inspiration. Okay, it acts as a accessory muscle of inspiration. Then you have rectus sternalis muscle. It is occasionally present in the longitudinal manner along the side of the sternum. You see that muscle is known as the rectus sternalis. Okay, actually it is derived from the superficial part of the rectus abdominis. Okay, that you should remember. So this is about the pectoralis major, the origin, the insertion and nerve supply and the action of the pectoralis major. Now let us discuss about pectoralis minor muscle. So pectoralis minor is a triangular muscle and lies beneath the pectoralis major. So this is pectoralis major. So once you reflect the pectoralis major, you see the pectoralis minor, which is lying underneath the pectoralis major. So this pectoralis minor, it subdivides. So the axillary artery. Okay, axillary artery is subdivided into 3 parts by means of this pectoralis minor muscle. So that you will learn in axillary artery, the divisions of axillary artery. So axillary artery, it is subdivided into 3 parts by this muscle only, pectoralis minor. Okay, so the second part of that artery, it lies behind the pectoralis minor muscle. So its upper border, this border, the upper border of pectoralis minor, it gives attachment to the clavipectoral fascia. Okay, whereas the lower border, this is the lower border of the muscle, gives attachment to the suspensory ligament of the axilla. These 2 things you should remember. Upper border gives attachment to the clavipectoral fascia. Lower border of the muscle gives attachment to the suspensory ligament of the axilla. Now let us discuss about origin of this muscle. It arises from 3 to 5 ribs, not from the costal cartilages, from the ribs, 3rd, 4th and 5th rib, and from the intervening fascia covering the external intercostal muscle. Insertion: the muscle converges upward and laterally to form a flat tendon which is inserted into the medial border and the upper surface of the coracoid process. Medial border and upper surface of the coracoid process is the insertion of the pectoralis minor muscle. Okay, the tendon of the pectoralis minor may continuous with the coracohumeral ligament. What is the nerve supply? It is supplied by both medial and lateral pectoral nerves. So pectoralis minor, it is supplied by medial and lateral pectoral nerves. So the medial pectoral nerve supplies this muscle by piercing it. What is the action of this pectoralis minor? So this muscle, it is assisted by serratus anterior and it is helpful for the protraction of the scapula. Protraction of the scapula. So it depresses the shoulder, depression of the shoulder along with the levator scapulae and the rhomboids. Okay, it is helpful for the depression of the shoulder and also protraction of the scapula. Protraction means the forward movement of the scapula. So that is about the pectoralis minus, the origin, this is the insertion, the nerve supply and the action. Let us discuss about the subclavius muscle. As you can see in this picture, subclavius, it is a triangular muscle. Okay, the origin of the muscle is, it arises from the junction of first rib and its costal cartilage. Okay, the junction of first rib and its costal cartilage. Insertion, it is inserted into a groove on the undersurface of the middle 1/3 of the clavicle. It is inserted into the undersurface of the middle 1/3 of the clavicle, where you have subclavian groove. Nerve supply, it is supplied from the nerve to subclavius, which is a branch of the upper trunk of the brachial plexus. You will learn in detail in the brachial plexus about nerve to subclavius. So this muscle subclavius, it is supplied by nerve to subclavius. Action, it is responsible for the depression of the clavicle. Okay, and also it steadies the clavicle during the movement of the shoulder joint. So this is about the subclavius muscle. Let us discuss about clavipectoral fascia. It is an important topic from examination point of view. The clavipectoral fascia, it is a thick sheet of fascia, or you can say it is a thick sheet of connective tissue connecting clavicle to the floor of the axilla. Okay, it encloses the subclavius muscle, as you can see in this diagram, and also it encloses pectoralis minor muscle. Okay, so clavipectoral fascia is a thick sheet of fascia which connects clavicle to the floor of the axilla. It covers, or it encloses, subclavius and pectoralis minor muscles, and it spans the gaps between them. So we will see the attachments of the clavipectoral fascia. Medially, it fuses with the intercostal membrane of the upper two spaces. Medially, it fuses with the intercostal membrane of the upper two spaces. For example, this is one space and this is the other space, intercostal space. So medially, it fuses with the anterior intercostal membrane of the upper two intercostal spaces. Laterally, it is attached to the coracoid process. This is the, as you can see in this diagram, this is clavicle and this is acromion process and this is coracoid process. So laterally it is attached to the coracoid process and blends with the coracoclavicular ligament. Coracoclavicular ligament, as you can see here. So laterally it attached to the coracoid process of the scapula and blends with the coracoclavicular ligament. Superiorly, the fascia splits to enclose the subclavius. So superiorly, the fascia encloses the subclavius and it is attached to the two lips of the subclavian groove. So as you can see, this is the subclavian groove, the subclavian muscle. So this clavipectoral fascia, it is attached to the two lips of the subclavian groove the posterior layer blends with the axillary fascia, or you can say with the axillary sheath. The portion of the fascia along the lower border of the subclavius extending from the coracoid process to the first costochondral joint, it is thickened to form costocoracoid ligament. The costocoracoid ligament. Below the fascia splits to enclose pectoralis minor. Then it reunites at the lower border of the muscle and extends downwards as suspensory ligament of axilla. Suspensory ligament of the axilla, which blends with the summit of the axillary fascia and maintains the hollow of the armpit. So this is about the attachments. I repeat again, clavipectoral fascia, it is a thick sheet of connective tissue, right? Medially it fuses with the anterior intercostal membrane of the upper two spaces. That is a medial relation. It fuses with the anterior intercostal membrane of the upper two spaces. Laterally, it is attached to the coracoid process, as you can see in this diagram. Attached to the coracoid process and blends with the coracoclavicular ligament. Superiorly, the fascia splits to enclose the subclavius muscle and it is attached to the lips of the subclavian groove. Right, then inferiorly the fascia splits to enclose the pectoralis minor, then it reunites at the lower border of the muscle and extends downwards as suspensory ligament of the axilla, which blends with the summit of the axillary fascia and maintains the hollow armpit. Now, what are the structures pierced by the piercing the clavipectoral fascia? Which is structures piercing the clavipectoral fascia. It is very, very important. Pay attention. Number one, the cephalic vein. So cephalic vein is piercing the clavipectoral fascia. Then lymphatics from the infraclavicular nodes and from the breast, the apical group of the axillary nodes. Okay, then the lateral pectoral nerve. The lateral pectoral nerve also pierces the clavipectoral fascia. Then thoracoacromial vessels. The thoracoacromial vessels, right? The thoracoacromial artery dividing into 4 branches that you will learn in detail. But these are the structures piercing the clavipectoral fascia. One is cephalic vein, then lymphatics from the intraclavicular nodes or from the breast, then the lateral pectoral nerve and thoracoacromial artery. So this is about the clavipectoral fascia. So you should remember the medial attachment, right? Laterally to the coracoid process, superiorly it encloses the subclavius muscle, inferiorly encloses the pectoralis minor, then reunites, then eventually merges with the axillary fascia and it maintains the hollow of the armpit. Okay, and structures piercing the clavipectoral fascia, cephalic vein. Then we have the lateral pectoral nerve, lymphatics from the breast. Okay, then the thoracoacromial artery. These are the structures piercing the clavipectoral fascia. Let us discuss about the last muscle, that is the serratus anterior in the pectoral region. Okay, the serratus anterior, it is a broad sheet of muscle, as you can see in this picture. It is a broad sheet of muscle. It forms medial wall of the axilla. It forms medial wall of the axilla, and it is covered by a fascia. Okay, origin of the serratus anterior. The muscle arises in front by 8 fleshy digitations, as you can see here. The muscle is originated from 8 fleshy digitations from the outer surfaces of upper border of upper 8 ribs. So upper 8 ribs, outer surface and upper border, they give origin to the 8 fleshy digitations of the serratus anterior. Okay, I repeat, the muscle arises in front by 8 fleshy digitations from the outer surface, this is the outer surface, and upper border of upper 8 ribs, and from the fascia covering the intervening intercostal spaces, the intercostal muscles. The first digitation appear in the posterior triangle of the neck. That means here, in the posterior triangle of the neck, and arises from the outer border of the first rib. Arises from the outer border of the first rib. So this is the first digitation. The lower 4 slips, they interdigitate with the costal origins of external oblique muscle of the abdomen. Okay, so this is the origin of the serratus anterior. Coming to the insertion of the serratus anterior, all digitations of the muscle, they pass backwards around the chest wall, and they reach the costal surface along the medial border of the scapula for insertion. Okay, I have already told you the serratus anterior insertion, okay, in the scapula. The first digitation is attached to the area from the superior angle to the root of the spine of the scapula. Okay, then second and third digitations are inserted to a narrow slip along the medial border of the scapula. Remaining 4 or 5 digitations, they are inserted into the triangular area at the inferior angle of the scapula. Okay, so this is about the insertion of the serratus anterior. So remember students, the serratus anterior, also known as the boxer's muscle, because it is responsible for the pushing and punching movements. Okay, nerve supply of this muscle, it is supplied by long thoracic nerve. Okay, it is supplied by long thoracic nerve, also known as nerve of Bell, B-E-L-L, Bell. So it is a branch from the brachial plexus, that will be taught in detail. Okay, brachial plexus. So remember here that this serratus anterior is supplied by long thoracic nerve, also known as the nerve of Bell. Then what is the action of this serratus anterior? When the entire muscle contracts along the pectoralis minor, it protracts the scapula, the forward movement of the scapula around the chest wall, as in case of pushing and punching movements. Okay, pushing and punching movements. So the contraction of lower 4 or 5 fibers are the digitations of the serratus anterior with the assistance of the upper and lower fibers of the trapezius muscle. They rotate the scapula forward and upward so that the glenoid cavity is turned upward during elevation of the arm above the head. Elevation of the arm above the head. So these are the actions of the serratus anterior muscle. So there is a condition associated with the paralysis of serratus anterior that is called the winging of scapula. The winging of scapula is due to injury to the long thoracic nerve, okay, that results in paralysis of the serratus anterior. So where you see loss of function of this muscle, so it makes this muscle, the medial border of the scapula, prominent, okay. So that condition is known as winging of the scapula. So on pushing forward, with the arm, the normal elevation of the arm is no longer possible, okay. So normal elevation of the arm is no longer possible in case of the winging of the scapula. So this is about the pectoral region. So what you have to know in the pectoral region, especially the muscles of the pectoral region: pectoralis major, pectoralis minor, subclavius and serratus anterior, and we have the clavipectoral fasciae. Laterally attached where, medially attached what, superiorly attached where, inferiorly attached where, and what are the structures piercing the clavipectoral fascia. So these are the important things of the pectoral region. So I think I have covered everything in the pectoral region. So if you have any clarifications, you can ask me, okay. I will clarify your doubts. Thank you so much.